how can you assure independent and undecided voters that your focus as president will be on improving the state of our country and not settling those old scores?
We had a great 4 years, especially before that very last part where COVID came in, and we did a great job there. We've been given great marks on the economy and on the military and on foreign affairs, but never got the credit we should have gotten. The country was at a level that we had the best employment numbers in history. Everything was good, and this country was coming together. Then we got hit with COVID, but this country came together. I don't care about the revenge thing. I know they usually use the word revenge. Will there be revenge? My revenge will be success.
And good Wednesday morning, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. I'm Maria Bartiromo, and it is Wednesday, February 21st. It is 7 a.m. on the button. It is time for the hot topic of the hour. You just heard former President Trump at a Fox News town hall last night, assuring independent and undecided voters that his focus will be on improving the country throughout the next 4 years, not looking backwards and not looking for revenge. Todd, it's hard to not feel vengeful after all of these things that have been hitting Trump, but he's sticking to his message. He wants to make America great again.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd have the same reticence. I'd be filled with anger and rage, and I'd be letting everybody know. But from a campaigning perspective, Donald Trump needs to carry that message that he just said to Laura to the key suburban blocks in the swing states. Because if there's any group of undecided, it is those individuals right now. We talked about having a rally in the Bronx. That would be great. He could potentially pick off some voters there. But in order to get those undecided people, he needs to convince them, hey, my next term will be about your needs, not my revenge. And if he can do that, he can really increase those poll numbers you're seeing so far.
It's hard to believe that there are undecided voters out there right now, Sarah. I'm sorry. I mean, after all that we have witnessed, it's like you're either on one side or you're on the other.
It's hard to believe, but for these independent voters that Todd just mentioned, what we hear over and over again from them is their one concern about Donald Trump is his demeanor, is his attitude, his tendency to say off-the-cuff things. They give him higher marks on the economy, on immigration, on law and order, on everything, just about everything, perhaps with the exception of abortion, that voters care most about in this election. And the one stumbling block for them is this idea that Democrats have sort of fear-mongered on, that Donald Trump will go on some sort of revenge campaign if he were elected president. So if he can assuage just that one concern, I think he does have a real chance to win back some of those independents who are just worried about his demeanor.
Well, I mean, it's incredible to me, Adam, that, the Democrats say that Trump is a detriment to democracy when it's actually the Democrats trying to take his name off the ballot and pack the Supreme Court and push through things against the Supreme Court. Joe Biden's forgiving debt right now, even though the Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional.
Yeah,
so who's actually the detriment to democracy?
And don't forget, by the way, weaponizing the entire judicial system.
Exactly.
I think to Sarah's point, being able to put a positive spin on the rhetoric is really important. And I think Mr. Trump actually demonstrated that he is capable of that. Not only last night in that interview with Ms. Ingram, but more importantly, after the Iowa caucuses, he sounded quite presidential. And he was complimentary of his opponents, gentlemanly. I thought that he sounded as though he had grown into the role of president. He was no longer the outsider trying to sound angry. He unfortunately stumbled in New Hampshire and he sounded angry again. But if he can channel that presidential positive tone, as I think he did last night, that I think will go a long way.
And he did so in my interview as well.
Yes,
2 weeks ago.
He was, which was a great interview.
He was very gracious to Ron DeSantis and Ron DeSantis' wife. So whoever is helping him in terms of his strategy, he seems to be sticking to message in that regard. Is this a new Trump?
Will it be 100% of the time? Absolutely not, because we still know Donald Trump is going to be Donald Trump, and he's going to have an outburst on on media every now and again.
And his followers want the raw, real Trump, by the way.
So I don't think he should
I don't know that it's hurting him.
Yeah, it's not hurting him, but in these moments when he's in front of a larger audience, if he can show the fire, but also say, I'm going to make it about you, not me, when he does that, that speaks to people.
Right. I mean, Joe Biden sold himself as a unifier. That was sort of what put him in the White House, and that has clearly been proven to be a lie. He's actually done the opposite. If Donald Trump can step into the vacuum that Joe Biden left with those unfulfilled promises of unity, I think he'll be setting himself up for success here.
Yeah, us and we rather than you or me, right? It needs to be all of us together.
Well, look, at the end of the day, one of his most important policies was a secure border.
Yes.
And we've all felt the impact of
have.
a wide open border at this point, from the drugs coming in to the human trafficking. And of course, there's people who are coming in who are, dominating cities across the country.
Yeah, the reality under Biden has proven Trump right on a lot of things during his presidency that maybe independent voters didn't take as seriously, like the border. I think some of his policies, especially like Remain in Mexico and his immigration policies, could get a second look from people who were skeptical the first time.
That's a great point.